So Jacques, can you tell me a little bit about, well, I know, but can you maybe tell the audience a little bit about the evolution of this project, how it came to be?
It came to be because I think the first thing was the first festival when Pip Schöderhoff came here to show one of my films.
That's right.
And then you discovered my work, and then he invited me for the second festival. It was. And then I discovered the place, the people, and I had to walk around, and I really wanted to come back. And so the best way to come back was to find fundings for making a film and then starting to come back for a longer time. And then I started to understand many things of the place. And basically, as I work a lot on the question of landscape, so one side there is the imagery question, and on the other side there is a lot of theoric questions also. And I was very surprised about my first relationship to this place, because I thought that the ships were for the wool, but I understood that it was for eating. Yes. Yeah. No, and so because in one shop they told me that the local wool was not good for textile, and so they import the wool. So and then I understood that the hills used to be forest, and the forest used to be free of trees, and so a lot of things were twisted in this place. And my relationship was the relationship I had with what was really built by the human here. And so this is landscape. They said landscape is not nature, and landscape is the result of the action of the human on nature. And it can be conceptual, as we have the habitude, to recognize something. We find a place peaceful because it looks to be peaceful, but it can be very dangerous sometimes. So we have to be careful in nature about that. So I was very excited about that, and I was also very impressed by the Ettrick Forest when I discovered it, because it's so huge, and the tree exploitation is so violent there, and it's the result of such a few people, this exploitation. So when I started to find them for filming, it's as there are 3 or 4 in the forest, it's difficult to find them. You try with the sound, but it's not so easy to find them. It was building like that, and also after that, and after the conversation we had, and about the textile, because I was very touched by the colors of the textile and all the motifs and so on, and I recognized the link between the color and the landscape, and I had a conversation with several people, and so everything was leaking, so it was possible to build something. But it has been built by time, because I made 3 versions of this film. So the first one was shown for the first time in October 2054.
2054?
No, 54. 14.
14, yeah.
Not in the future. It's because of the film of yesterday. And at the French Cinematheque, and then the second one was here at the Johnston last year, and the final one is here right now. It's finished since June.
And this film has been screened at Jilava,
yeah,
and very recently at MoMA in New York.
Yeah. And in Bordeaux, and in several small towns also.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Helen, maybe you'd like to.
Yes, I mean, I'm really fascinated how it developed from last year. After you had worked on the film for considerable time, about 2 years, and you had the landscape and the textiles and that sense of geological construction of landscape through our culture, if you want, of the romantic 19th century, and also the needs of the farming and but then that painterly tradition linking with the textiles and the tweed industry. But really, when you went into the mills, something else began to happen in this film, which really comes in that middle section and gives it another dynamic quite dramatically and emotionally, and the sound becomes incredibly important, which also then links much later with the forestry, but in a very different way. And I'm interested in these the man handling that starts to come into your film.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people ask me when will be there human beings in my films, because I think the first human appearing in my film, since I work on the landscape, I started to work on landscape film in 2003, and the first human being appears in 2010. And it's 5 pixel high, so it's smaller than the small lamps you see in the film. So. And no one's seen it, in fact, because it's too small. I know it's here, but and so it was a difficult question for me for filming people, because there is a political point on why I use this way of destroying picture to build an aesthetic. And it's because it's not post-production work, it's hacking a certain way of using standard tools. And so I'm fighting a certain way of using digital tools to produce images while I'm doing that. And so filming people was difficult because I didn't want to push them, in a too symbolic space, because as it becomes very fast, like a mask, and you can become very easily a monster. Or so I didn't want to tell something like that. It's like something happens very differently when you see the landscape with all this aesthetic digitally broken, and a human. You push something in the sense very fast with that, and then it's why I decided to have these very clean parts in the film, so that they can the humans and the workers can come in the first degree as a representation, and where I do not criticize the question of the representation. And then they turn back in another dimension of the image, where it's more a question of landscape when I filmed even the mills.
Yeah, particularly in that big one where the fabric is going up, the finishing.
And
mill.
so they have a place in a wall space.
Yeah.
So it's a beginning of working of this question of filming people.
Right.
But they had to be somewhere, I cannot just film someone like that. He has to have a sense and a position regarding, like, the secret actor that maybe someone recognizes in the public, that is leading us into the film, from the working at the beginning. And
Right. And how much did it help that the fact that the weaving itself is a very sort of warps and wefts, which is very like, the digital screen, if you want. I mean, that must have been a way in.
It might be not really conscious, because one point I really like the textile is the fact that it's a matrix also.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
colors and points, and
Yes.
it's the result of some kind of programming. It's very constructivist in a certain way.
Yes.
So maybe it's why I like it very much, as I like much painting or sculpture sometimes. At the first time, I really went this way without thinking this link, But it's one day in the car when I saw by the window after a big rain on a valley, that with the speed, the color was pink, outside with the lights. And so I directly connected to the pink tartan I use in the film.
Right.
And for me, it was really there, the relationship with the textile. And so I decided to inject textile directly in the film. So I use textile to push the image through the textile in the film. And the colors come from the textile.
Right.
And so at the beginning, it was not so much directed to the mills and the fabrics, but it became impossible to escape from that. So I had to face the fact of filming something more documentary.
Right, yeah. But there's also a humour and a lovely humanness, but the humour that comes, earlier on with the sheep and the nibbling of the wool, which is almost like a moth or something, eating. And so there's that element of corrosion that's going on in the film, as well as the making. But then later on, the hands and then the little machines, which are doing things very much like hands and everything. So there's a humour which makes one look at the industrial in a more human sort of way, as an extension of the hand, etc. Which I think relates it then to landscape and that creation of landscape, which is fascinating, really. And the way you got that close up looking, really close up, which is quite different from your other films, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think it'd be great to open it out for some questions if anyone has any in the audience. We'll be most pleased to receive them. Okay, we've got two. One here, and then the second one up there. So first one here. You wait a second. Here you go. Get the microphone.
I was just going to start off because yesterday after the film there was quite a delay before anybody got going. It was really to ask you, this wonderful film which really was quite stunning.
Yeah.
And just showed off the Ettrick Valley so well and in such an interesting and contemporary way. And I did wonder, are you going to be showing it at other film festivals as well?
Sure.
I was just thinking it might be an idea if you took some promotional material for the Ettrick Valley.
Yeah, it is. Every of my work is. Yeah, it's always like that. The film At the First Degree is my relationship to a place, and I do always want to take time to make films for that. And what I want to share is also my relationship to this place. So, I don't know if you have seen it, but I made a picture of me at the Modern Art Museum of New York with the Alchemy t-shirt, It was not a joke.
Not the Ettrick t-shirt, unfortunately, but at least the Alchemy t-shirt,
And it was not just a joke, It's because I want to bring everything, because I'm traveling and meeting a lot of people. I want to share, like when you share a good meal and so on. So it's not promotional in the business view. But yeah.
Okay, we have a next question here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Sorry?
it working? It is working, good.
Just
I wasn't
quite
sure.
close.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, it was a very clever film, the making of it, but I'm not technically minded, so, I can't understand all the ins and outs, so excuse me for that. But the message that came over of the film, and I don't know, you would be aware there was a message kind of coming out of it somewhere. I feel it's like a wake-up call for the borders. It's like nature and everything used to be there, along with the textiles. A lot of the woolen mills have now gone. And now, I'd forgotten, and I should know because I live right next door to it, is all the Forestry Commission and all the destroying of nature. And I've come across scenes like that, and it's almost like a nuclear bomb has landed and just wiped out the trees, the nature, everything. And I feel very sad about that because the wealth of the borders is their countryside. And I hope they waking up that it could be lost.
Yeah. I don't think there is a message exactly in the film. Literally, it doesn't want to say that. It does want to express the impression I can have, as a stranger coming here and discovering this place. And for sure, I know there is a lot of things changing and a lot of people fighting, but they fight from there. This is from there you have to fight here. And what impressed me and what I want to share, it's that there is something moving around here. It's finishing in the light. It's not finishing in the red, So I'm not pushing message at the first degree in my film because that's not the way I want to do the stuff. But there is energy at the end of the film, and I think this is the thing you have to feel. Effectively, it's a hard situation, and the film is very connected to this. Very strong, but it's very strong. For me, it was very strong to discover such a strange forest. Where sometimes you cannot even go through the trees, and to see how violent the exploitation is, and so disconnected from the people from here, because the workers are only strangers, and they live in. So I don't know the word. Small vehicles during the
caravans.
Caravans,
Yeah.
So it's the same with French.
Yeah.
I think it's I cannot express something else from that, but I can throw the energy out of that, because it's not a sad film. Yeah.
There was a great sadness, as those lorries and that sound. That was extraordinarily sad, towards the end, and then the red. I found that, that sound, it was quite haunting.
Maybe the movement at the end is to, you have all the film in the mind, and all those impressions, and then I dig inside, and we go very deep inside, where everything disappears, to push everything out, and to go into the light at the end.
I'm out of time, but I'm going to take one or two more questions, I'm afraid, because the room is full of them. I'll take this one first, and then I'll pick you at the top there. Sorry. Yeah, so we'll take this one. If you can keep the questions fairly concise, please, that would be much appreciated, everyone. And in the answers.
By including people in the film, you seem, and it being a film to some extent about violence, about the landscape, you seem to gender the violence. It seems like the women touch and mend and caress the cloth, and the men just operate machines. I wondered what your thought on that would be.
Good question.
Okay, just an impression. I don't know if that's true in the borders, but it seems to be true of the vision. The second thing that I'm just going to sneak in as a question is this film is a series of transitions, basically, from image to image. How do you do it? You've spoken about a hacker's toolkit, but if you don't want to, I can understand because it's probably a secret. But what is the process?
The first question, very precisely, is what I've seen. It's just this sequencing, partitioning of men and women. This is what I've seen. I don't know if it's like that, but it's just, I was the witness of that. But there is no process in my mind to explain something regarding that. And on the second question, it's a bit long to answer. But there is no secret, I'm not the only one to use that kind of technique. But I think I'm the only one to do something with it. It's a bit wild answer. And the fact is I'm using what for reality is the video compression. And the video compression for reality is trying to have an economy of space in the video file while degrading the image without its being visible, without it it's being visible. So the philosophy behind it is psychovisual. It's psycho. What can people recognize in the image? And so if they recognize that, we can erase the rest. And so it's based on time. And so the transition are, in fact, there is no transition in the film. It's just impression of transitions. It's
One thing changes into another.
Yeah, but it's not changing to another. Yeah, it's I think difficult to explain, but in fact, what happens, it's you imagine a normal film, and you have each footage separated, you change from one to the other. But the fact is that the one who was before remains, and the other one is taking birth from that. And so you have the image you had before, and the new one is coming inside of it. And so you're taking all what was on the screen to construct its
so they're
own
weaving together rather than...
it's kind of weaving, or cooking.
Or cooking, yeah.
I like the cooking metaphor.
Cooking, yeah.
I'm French, so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll take this one question up the back, and then we really have to stop, yeah.
Thank you. Red is a colour of passion and obviously can be seen throughout your whole film. So what was your favourite bit of the whole hour's film and why?
Oh. I don't, maybe it's impossible to answer, really. I love the beginning. Yeah, I think after seeing the film for the first time, I wanted to buy a Land Rover, So, but I'm okay. I'm living in Paris. It's not a good idea. And I really like the end, but because of the relationship between the red and the green. In fact, the green is not strong, but you feel it's strong because of the red. And I love the relationship in this part of the film. It's the normal green, you don't have such one normally. And maybe the pink tartan, I love really the pink tartan.
The pink tartan.
Yeah.
Nice. So I would like to thank Jacques and Helen.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so we'll give them a round of applause. But after that, I would like to do some more general thank yous. So please stay on just for a few minutes. Thank you. So thank you, Jacques and Helen.